he's going to take on double duty. But I want to point out that even before this happened, okay, I'm going to read off a number of addresses, 39.
Please do not.
Well,
Please do not.
okay, well then there's 1, 2.
We have 53. I saw your
No,
complaint.
that's separate from what I'm about to say.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, then I didn't mean to cut you off.
Those
Okay.
involve, I sent that to Tom, those involve
Right.
homes that will
Right, those are the homes that you saw that either sold or bought, and
will require
you
second. I'm not,
feel as though
no,
they're gonna be doing
I
something
don't have
illegal.
any, that was
Yes,
just a
understand.
heads up I was giving.
I got your email, we got your email.
No, I'm talking about things that I have, on my own time, investigated or with the help of other residents that the code inspectors and enforcers did not find and would not have found. So I'm talking 39 Summit, I am talking 3 Ronwood Road, 1 Lisa Lane, which is particularly egregious if you heard what happened with that, 24 Keith Drive, 10 Keith Drive. All of these involve illegal construction without a permit, completely under the nose. Okay, 1 Lisa Lane was going on for months. Internal renovation, they put up a fence, they put up a garage door, an entrance door to the garage. They had police were called at times because for work after 7 o'clock, and then when the Rockland County Consumer Protection Board was called, I called them to report on the unlicensed contractors. They actually, this is a builder, developer owns that property. He actually had the nerve to put a false building permit in the upper bedroom window that fooled the Rockland County. And I submitted a complaint. I don't have that with me, but I had submitted a complaint. This is on file in the records, this incident.
And what address was this?
This is 1 Lisa Lane. Now, I don't know why it took so long, okay, and by the way, he was also, had his workers in another house down the street living there and doing all this work. Okay, now, eventually Everett, finally, I don't know why there was a delay. It made me Everett is a good guy. I don't know why there was a delay, but eventually he got to it. And it slapped them a violation stop work order. But by then, the work was totally done. Okay. But I'm just pointing out these properties. There's just some examples, and I will continue to be finding more, I assure you. Those 53 will be, for example. We need more code enforcement. We need more code inspection here, okay? Because people, and you're losing revenue from not having these things caught from one thing, right?
Well, with regard to replacing our,
Yes, I don't know. You should speak about that.
we're good?
Yeah.
Everett's going to be replaced probably with a full-time code enforcement person.
Very good to hear. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. But I just, there is a real serious problem.
So noted. I agree.
All the new people coming in.
Mr. Labelson, I think I said at the very beginning, and I think Mr. Trustee Miller said too, we are you. We
I know,
understand.
but you did say, I have you as a quote. 1 or 2 hearings ago, you said I could hire 15 code enforcers and it wouldn't make a difference.
That's correct. I still feel that. I still feel that way. I still feel that way. But you see, the thing is this, Mr.
How
Labelson.
about 2 or 3?
But you're right, and perhaps that will ultimately be what we do. I also like to make sure that we are working smarter. I want to make sure we're working efficiently, and I want to make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for our village buck.
All for that.
And I do not say that in any disparaging way to our current
The
staff.
job has to get done.
I agree with you 100%.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Name and address for the record, sir, please.
Tim Conlon, 4 New Acton.
Good evening, Mr. Conlon.
Good evening. I was here at the last meeting, and I mentioned about the sticks that the branches pick up after the storm, and I just wanted to say that I appreciate that you followed through somehow or another. You made it happen. Happened to be working at home that day, and got all my branches and sticks picked up.
I wish I could take the credit, but that's the village. But thank you for the kind words.
Okay, well, whatever.
That's what we're here for.
Yes, got
Thank you.
done. I seem to feel as though somehow mentioning it here made a difference. The other thing is that 1 Carroll Court I'm 1 house removed from that. That's where I live. So it's good to hear that that also has been taken up and there's a process being worked here, and that it's getting attention that it needs. Or I felt. it
Yes.
needed. Yeah, so good.
Correct, that is, like I mentioned to you, we tweaked our procedures a little bit, and my hope is that by tweaking those procedures, we're not gonna be in a situation that we were in a month ago with regard to something like that happening again.
Okay, and then how will we get feedback? It's by coming to these meetings that we'll hear about the status?
Oh, no, meaning what I'm getting at is now that we have our village engineer reviewing these applications, what's gonna end up happening is you're probably gonna see if there's any issues, that if it's not resolved within the, under the auspices of the village engineer, basically, in concert with the building inspector saying we're okay, if there's an issue, they have to go before the zoning board if they're gonna dispute the permits or
And
something like that.
and if there was a variance applied for,
Oh, that's
how
gonna be,
would I hear
you're
about
gonna get here, if you're within 500 feet, you're gonna get a notice. The law says 500 feet.
Okay,
So if you're outside of 500 feet, you're not gonna get a legal notice, but again, the zoning board agendas are posted at least, it's usually at least a week before, is that correct, council? So, if there's a particular house that you have on your radar, Mr. Conlon, my suggestion is then call the building department and speak with, Mary's our building department secretary, and say, Mary, is there something pending in the zoning board with regard to whatever? And she'll be
okay.
able to
Are
let you know.
those the signs sometimes you see they put on trees with
Correct, you'll see
red
public
writing?
hearing,
Okay.
they have to post public hearing notices also on the property. So any property that's gonna go before, for a hearing, whether it be the planning board, the zoning board, you're gonna see those public hearing signs. It has to be posted on the property.
Okay, so
So
if I see
that's
those,
it.
stop and read it.
That's another belt and suspenders way of being noticed.
I
Good.
want to just say one thing. If you come to the meetings, you will realize that every month, the mayor gives an update on whatever properties have been complained about. If we have had some success or non-success or whatever happened, in his report every month.
Those with problem properties. If you're waiting to know whether a house is on the agenda for the zoning board, I'm not gonna have that here. That's gonna be something you have to call. But if you see a public hearing sign, my suggestion is check out the date and just go to the meeting. You'll have ample opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Mr. Cohen, name and address for the record again. Oh, no problem.
Sports, Norman Cohen. I was thinking about something that could be possibly a legal issue. And that is, let us say that somebody uses a portion of their home for worshiping. Let's say 50%. And you take the aggregate number of hours that they're using it for worship purposes. How can you prevent them from reducing their taxable liability?
The tax exemption,
By, in effect, downzoning their house value.
well, I don't know anything about downzoning, Mr. Cohen. The whole idea is that the state of New York provides the parameters for exemptions for people who worship in their home. And that is something that is set by state statute. There is an application that needs to be filled out by the applicant, and there are supporting documentation that needs to be submitted to the tax assessor. The Ramapo tax assessor is probably one of the top tax assessors, if not in the county, in the state of New York. And Mr. Shedler follows the law to the T. So, if someone is going to apply for a tax exemption, they will apply within the law, within the parameters of the law. And if the law says they're entitled to X percent, they will get it. If they're not entitled, they will not.
What determines whether they're entitled if they apply the idea that a portion of their house is, or versus an aggregate number of hours for all religious services over the year? It's not just the Sabbath. And therefore, we're going to subtract that, just like somebody who carries out a business on a portion of their house.
That's an application process. You're welcome to check out the application and
But it's-
look at the application online at the town of Ramapo. And you'll see exactly how it has to be quantified.
But it is an interesting question.
Sure it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Tara Vallon, and 28 Pine Brook
Good
Road.
evening, Ms. Vallon.
So I have some issues in regards to, I believe we all can say that the traffic in Chestnut Ridge has quadrupled, if not more, and that it's gotten to be a serious issue just with everybody. It doesn't matter, speeding is an issue. And on Pine Brook, I've repeatedly called and spoken to the police department in regards to the speeding. They were kind enough to send out 2 police officers to sit and for one to stand on my driveway, on my porch and go, wow, people really do speed. They really do go fast. Police officer went, sat in his car and didn't pull out, didn't give a ticket, didn't watch cars fly by, buses fly by. And I was like, oh, that's great. Called again, had a police officer do the same thing. Came out, they put a meter to the
Speed
trailer.
trailer?
Yep, very nice. Sat and watched cars go 53, 53, 57, on a 30. I mean, like, really? Does this thing not track how fast people are going? And not one ticket was issued. So if they're gonna send out police officers and they're gonna put this trailer out, is that just to humor people? I mean, I don't really understand. It's kind of gotten to a point where
I will,
I
we'll make
can't
sure,
cross the street to go to talk to a neighbor.
Ms. Allen, what we'll do is I'm gonna have the village clerk follow up with our liaison tomorrow. I'm gonna make sure that he specifically says that there were specific patrolmen in your driveway that acknowledge speeders and that basically you articulate to us that they did nothing. And we'll let them go within their disciplinary route with them. But we'll let them know. They're supposed to, obviously if they're speeding, they should have ticketed them. So we will relay to the police what you're relaying to us, because obviously we don't have our own police department. So I was not there.
Right.
So obviously they have a record when that patrolman was sitting on Pine Brook. And what's your address?
28.
28?
I will say, I do the prosecutions on the vehicle and traffic tickets issued in Chestnut Ridge on the second and third Wednesday of the month. And I think anybody who's in the room can see that there's a ton of speeding tickets given. A lot of them are on the thruway, but there's a fair amount on the local streets too. And
Do me a
obviously, I
favor, check and see if there's any issued on Pine Brook.
I'll try to
Please,
remember.
if you remember, because I'll be frank with you. I mean, I even passed a comment, I'd be intrigued if we can see about getting a stop sign. And I've had the conversation, and the conversation has been, well, that'll stop the flow of traffic. That's the point. The point is to slow the traffic. You won't put up speed bumps, and I understand why. The ripples in the ground are a pain in the neck for noise for the people who live in the area. But, I mean, it's not just New York drivers, it's Jersey drivers, it's on Pine Brook, they fly through. But there's nothing that's gonna stop people. I mean, if they're sitting, a cop was sitting in my driveway, and the cars are flying by, and it's quite obvious.
And you know, and I don't disbelieve you. It's just that I for them to sit there, see that, and if you're telling me 53 and they're still sitting in your driveway,
I
there's
only know
obviously
53 because I was standing there
there's
watching
obviously
the
a
meter
problem.
go. Like,
So again, you've got me at a disadvantage in that usually the Ramapo PD have been extremely responsive and receptive. So we'll have to find that out.
So, and then I have 2 other questions.
Sure.
In regards to, and this may not be an answer you guys can give me, but wells. I happen to be on a well. When I moved in, it was well, obviously. Our wells seem to be drying up. Our pits are empty. So, and that's only happened within the last year and a half. What happens with that? Are we responsible now that so many people are living in homes in mass numbers in our area? That are we responsible to pay for changing to city sewer, to town water?
I don't know what your issue is with your well. I know my mother-in-law had a redo her well maybe 5-10 years ago. The aquifer sometimes dries up, and I'm not a well guy. I am well, but I'm not a well guy. I'm here all week, try the deal. The bottom line is not to make a joke, but unfortunately, the well maintenance, sometimes that happens. You may have to dig deeper on your well. a lot of the homes that are in the village, I should say it the other way, there are not that many more homes in the village that have wells. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing that a lot of the homes that are being built, they're using the wells more so just for landscaping, and they're using public water
Oh,
for their home.
I'm not talking about new homes. I'm just talking
No.
about the number of people
So-
who now are using the water.
Yeah, but that happens. People use water, and you have, when you have a well, you have a limited resource. So you may have to think about either digging a deeper well, or you may have to talk about connecting to public water. But that's the joys of being a homeowner with a well.
Okay, no, well, that's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden now, it seems like there's
Yeah.
a whole lot more people living in the homes that are in our areas than, okay. And the next, just one last question. In regards to protecting our trees and our nature and everything else, there's not an ordinance or anything about the number of trees that you have to leave on a lot or anything?
We've visited this a number of times. When there's subdivisions and things of that nature, the planning board does go through an extensive procedure with regard to developers mapping out trees, what trees to keep, what trees they can keep, what trees they can take down. The tree ordinance that we have in the confines of the current village law has to do more so with planning board and subdivisions and things of that nature. There is still a feeling amongst, and you talk to 6 people and you get 12 opinions, if they want to do something with their tree on their property, they should be entitled to do what they wish with it. And especially as a result of this last storm that we had, and the storm before that, there was a lot of tree damage. So I know there are some municipalities close by, villages, that have tree ordinance that restrict how many trees you can take down, or that you need an arborist and all this other different procedures and things of that nature. There hasn't been as many people as there are saying that they think you should be restricted with your trees as far as cutting them down. There are just as many who feel as though that they should be able to do what they want on their property. So the long answer to your short question is, we're not prepared to come up with a tree ordinance yet, restricting how people could have trees on their own property.
So if a person cuts down all the trees on their property and then it affects the other people around them flooding? I mean, what is the...
I am not going to give you legal advice. However, if your neighbor does something to their property that you could directly attribute to a problem on your property, you may have to speak with the civil attorney.
Oh, okay, thanks.
I was
Just for the
hoping,
record, please.
Carol Goodman,
Yes,
I
Ms.
was
Goodman.
hoping that Jerry would address this because he's probably more, in the fall, probably September or October, I did address this. There seems to be a property at the end of Orchard Court where it abuts Chestnut Ridge Road, that they have a car repair lot there. There's one piece of metal garbage on top of another with maybe 10 cars there, and every time I look, they seem to multiply. I don't know, they have babies, they just, it's really disgusting.
He likes to repair his cars.
I know the name, and I guess I shouldn't say the name of the owner of the property, but it's terrible eyesore. I'm embarrassed every time I go past
Is it
it.
on the left side or the right side if you're coming up
Well,
Chestnut Ridge Road?
If you're coming from Spring Valley, it's on the left side. It's where Orchard Court ends and comes to Chestnut Ridge Road.
Okay, we'll have them go out there and check it out again. Thank you, Ms. Goodman.
It's a terrible eyesore.
Thank
Been
you.
doing that for years, right?
Anyone else, name and address for the record, please.
Mark Aldridge.
I'm sorry.
Mark Aldridge, 16 Charles Street.
Thank you, Mr. Aldridge.
I was happy to hear that one of the other residents had their branches picked up finally. I've had some logs at the bottom of my driveway for 6 weeks now, waiting for someone to pick them up, and the garbage man I've spoken to, he doesn't know how.
Logs are different than branches.
That's correct. That we don't, the garbage carter will pick up certain weight, certain size pieces of landscaping. Mr. Conlon was addressing an issue that as a result of the storm, the town of Ramapo was passing through the village, and as a courtesy to all of the villages that they help maintain, they were picking up tree branches and things of that nature that were at the curb or in the right-of-way. However, aside from that, anything on your own property, landscaping-wise, is your responsibility as a homeowner, unless it's cut a certain size and at a certain weight, and then the garbage carters will take it.
Okay,
And if they don't, call Village Hall, and then we'll see what the problem is.
okay. I did cut them to the proper size, and they did not take them. I did call Village Hall 2 or 3 times. The woman was quite curt and rude, telling me she didn't need a lecture, apparently. My neighbor across the street has walked in twice and gotten a similar experience. I'm sorry, what's that face for?
Excuse me?
I'm wondering what that expression is for.
Well, because we
I'm trying to,
haven't heard that.
I'm trying to hear what you're saying, Mr. Aldridge, so if you don't like my personal tics, I apologize. I guess I need to go to a neurologist, I'm sorry.
I'm just asking for
Yes.
clarification whether you had a problem with what I was
Mr.
saying.
Aldridge, please ask your question.
All right. When the plows came, they came down the street and pushed all the large branches that were in the street all the way down to the barricade at the end of Samuel. There was a truck that came shortly after the storm with a big claw on the end for picking up branches like that. They were about 100 feet from the pile of branches, but they did not pick them up. And the complaint has been made, like I said, several times to Village Hall, when can those branches be picked up? And still no.
We'll have the village clerk check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What street was that?
Cheryl Street.
Cheryl.
I'm sorry, the branches are on Samuel.
Anyone else? Name and address for the record, please.
Joanne Murray, One Continental Court.
Good evening, Ms. Murray.
Good evening. I have a concern about the trash that's littered all up and down the streets as I drive by. I'm seeing bottles, cans, plastic bags, up and down Pascack Road, on Rocky Road. As you know, there's a stream over there. I mean, it doesn't even look like a swamp because you wouldn't find all that trash and litter over there. I've never seen it like that. I've lived here for 24 years. It's terrible.
Well, Ms. Murray, we do have a staff member who, one of his biggest jobs is picking up trash on the main drags in particular of the village. And I guess with not to make excuses for him, but I'm going to presume that maybe with the snow and the bad weather, that he obviously wasn't out as much. But my understanding is that he is out more often. In addition, there are certain sections that while we pick up, because we have a village staff member to do it, it's not always our property. And so then if down on Rocky, if you're talking about on Pascack, maybe we got to call Ramapo and have them come out and clean up around the park. But we have one staff person that does that. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are pigs that drive through the village, and we try to clean up after them, but we only have so many people working for the village.
And another thing, Orange and Rockland, during the storm, they had to come by and rope off some of the streets to clear up fallen trees or whatever have you. Those ropes or ties or ribbons or whatever they were are still just lying around. They're red, they're strewn all over in the grass. It's just all over.
Well, I would hope then that whoever, like the property owner who is contiguous to those caution tapes or whatever the case may be, either, if they're plastic tapes, they could be easily removed if for some reason, and especially if it's on private property, the village can't go on somebody's private property and remove their caution tapes. My presumption is that if it's on private property, people will remove the caution tapes. If not, I guess if you can call in the addresses and maybe we'll have code enforcement knock on that door and say, you think you want to take the caution tapes off your azaleas or something like that. But the village can't go on somebody's private property and say, this looks crummy, take off the tape. But I don't see that much. Around Margate School, there were 1 or 2 corner properties, I think, that had caution tape there for a while, but then I haven't seen it. So, but we'll check it out. We'll check it out. It's a point well taken. Thank you. Name and address for the record? Oh, man, you're gonna make sure you put that microphone down when you're done.
I will. Baruch Feder, 33 Beckett Court, Chestnut Ridge, New York.
Good evening, Mr. Federer.
Okay, I want to first thank everybody from the village for doing a great job. And I want to start first of all, everybody who's here. I want to thank Mr. Miller that he was the initiator of the reflector that the village still has a lot of them in their village and nobody comes to pick it up. Now I want to tell everybody here in the audience that there is so much that a government can do for its people. Government cannot do everything for the people. People in themselves can do much more than the government can. Now, I'll start with reflector. If you see somebody at night walking and it's dark, and you stop your car and politely, do you know that the village gives out reflectors? It's dangerous. You don't have to scream and honk the horn, and then it becomes a messy thing. No, I don't want to go with reflector. Yes, I do. So it's very dangerous. And about this thing, I want to go to the next subject. That I heard that somebody was talking about the tree audiences. Again, the same thing. If you have a neighbor, talk to them. Get together. Why do you want to cut all the trees? Because you lived in the city and there's no trees in the city? Over here, it's very nice to have trees. I understand you have a concern about the weather. Have conversations with your neighbors. Get together, talk to them. If the streets are filthy, maybe you find the small kids, get them together 1 day a week. Let's pick up all the trash on the whole street. It's neighbors knowing other neighbors, get together with other people on a nice way, and a lot more people by themselves can be done than government. Thank you.
Mr. Federer. Thank you. And thank you for adjusting the microphone. Anyone else? Name and address for the record, sir, please.
Joel Friedman, 6 Amber Ridge Road.
Good evening, Mr. Friedman.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the mayor and the trustees again, as Mr. Feder before me said, for doing a great job keeping this village in order. Speaking about reflectors, I just reminded myself about a year ago, I was walking on Route 45 with my reflective belt on, and I was almost hit. I was walking with my kids. I was almost hit by a car going into his driveway. And I stopped and I said, when the person came out of the car, did you see me? She just ignored me and walked away. So since then, we're walking, all my kids are walking with vests, so nobody can miss us.
I actually carry reflectors with me too. If I see folks, I kind of throw them out the window, but they look at me a little funny.
Okay, the second thing is I also would like to thank the village for bringing up the new parade law, because on March 1st, I think it was, on a Thursday, Spring Hill Road was blocked off from Chestnut Ridge Road until Orchard, or even maybe further up for construction. I tried to pass by and nobody would let me in. I asked them if they had a permit. They said, if you don't need a permit, get out of here. So thank you very much for getting things in order so everything has a way of getting it.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman.
New York State Highway Department.
Tara Ballin, 28 Pine Brook Road.
Yes, Ms.
So,
Allen.
since this is new news to me, that there are reflectors, is there a possible way that you can put up a sign in the areas where these people are walking, especially on Pine Brook and stuff, that states that the village has reflectors? Because apparently they don't know it, or it's not being discussed amongst themselves.
They know we have. They know they have
Well, the
reflectors.
responses I've gotten are
Okay,
not been
no
the
problem.
nicest ones back.
We'll try to publicize it more.
Oh, I do. My daughter passes comments all the time, trust me.
Ms. Vallon, if you maybe what you could, if you so choose, and you don't have to, tomorrow come to Village Hall and take a dozen,
Sure.
and you can hang them on your.
I keep saying, I almost bought them a couple of weeks ago, that's
Between
why
Mr.
I'm
Miller, Mr.
surprised.
Federer, we've got a couple of hundred. I think we still got a
Yeah, no,
supply.
definitely.
So anyone is welcome.
My
Take a
daughter
couple
would stand there and give 'em out.
and leave them. You got it. Thank you.
Baruch Feder, 33 Beckett Court. Another issue that I wanted to talk about, lighting at night. I know some neighbors got annoyed from new people moving in, putting up big lights at nights. Again, I had a brother-in-law moved in from the city and he put up lights, and the neighbor came over to him. We don't like light, so he put up a timer. 11 o'clock at night, it goes off. So again, it's all because conversation between people can be done more than, let's say we put a light, 12 o'clock at night, you have a law, it has to go off. It's crazy. So people should talk to other people, will get more done.
Point well taken. I actually did that with my neighbor across the street. He did not know that I was the mayor, and he had just moved in, and he had some high-intensity LED, and I asked him if he could turn it down, and he did, and it's no problem, no problem. So, you're absolutely correct. Yes, Mr. Deutsch, name and address for the record again,
Abraham
please.
Deutsch, 7 Tillamook. I don't have to acknowledge that the mayor's doing a good job because Mr. Feder did it, but I want to say there's two ways of getting revenue into a village or even to a state. One is by giving tickets, and one is by collecting sales tax. The more people that move into Chestnut Ridge, the more money the village is going to get in than to keep on sending code enforcements. People getting up, maybe the village should start supplying birth controls. It's going to take care of that problem as well. The last 6 meetings in this place, 2 streets was mentioned. Terrace Place and Sprinkle. There's a lot of other streets in this village except these 2. No one got up here and started complaining that my neighbor has 2 cars and a driveway, 2 entrances. People are sitting here. The air in the village of Chestnut Ridge is so clear. You don't have to go to college to become an engineer. Everybody knows the laws. Now everybody knows the tax laws. The village of Chestnut Ridge could market the properties here by people moving here. They get educated overnight. Tax laws, variances, engineering, it's a great place to live in.
Thank you, Mr. Deutsch. Anyone else? At this juncture, I need a motion to go into public session with regard to the 2 pieces of litigation that we're to talk about.
Move that the public portion of the meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you, trustee Cohen. Second, thank you, deputy mayor Rocco, all those in
Then
favor,
I'll
aye?
None. Make a motion that we go into.
I have no idea what that guy said.
Thank you, trustee Cohen.
Mark.
All those in favor, aye?
Do you have any
Opposed,
idea
there
what
being
he
none,
said?
thank you very much. All right, folks, so again, we're back to our regular schedule, so we'll see you in May. Thank you for coming.